On this Tuesday night, the Liberals' mission to revitalize the party. Why they've turned to Mark Carney.
We need real policies.
As the NDP explain their breakup with the Liberals.
Justin Trudeau's name is very radioactive in my parts of the country.
New details on the man accused of plotting a New York terror attack, how he entered Canada. An NFL star's controversial arrest.
When we tell you to do something, you do it.
His side of the story and how police are defending their actions. Plus, text education.
I do think it is much better.
One Finnish town's decision to turn off tech in class and go old school.
Global National with Donna Friesen.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. The federal immigration minister has revealed how a Pakistani man, Muhammad Shahzeb Khan, got into the country. He is facing terror charges in both the U.S. and Canada. Authorities allege he was plotting to carry out a mass shooting at a Jewish center in Brooklyn, New York. Mackenzie Gray has our top story tonight.
Nearly a week after the disturbing terrorism arrest in Quebec, some clarity on how the suspect came to Canada.
He was granted a student visa in May of 2023, and he entered at Pearson Airport June 24th of 2023 that year.
5 months later, Muhammad Khan, a 20-year-old Pakistani national, landed on the FBI's radar after he allegedly, repeatedly, and explicitly expressed support for ISIS and his desire to carry out terrorist attacks. Whether those sentiments were developed before or after he came to Canada is unclear.
I'm not going to speculate on the various original ways that people have ill intentions towards Canada coming to this country, or whether they were developed while people were here.
To come to Canada on a student visa, applicants must self-identify if they've been in the military or been a member of a violent or criminal group. But submitting a police records check is not mandatory.
We're very much reliant on the honor system. We don't have the officers abroad to collect intelligence.
Khan is just one of nearly 700,000 people who obtained international study permits in 2023.
If you had to vet every individual's social media footprint, that would be insane. No one would be able to get their visas ever.
The Immigration Department, CSIS, the RCMP, and border officers are all involved in vetting applications, which was also an issue with Ahmed and Mustafa El-Didi, who were arrested last month on terrorism charges in Toronto. Ahmed El-Didi was able to obtain Canadian citizenship after he allegedly appeared in an ISIS video that shows a man dismembering a prisoner with a sword.
It's time that Canada step up so that we're no longer the lazy eye out of the Five Eye partners who we're increasingly dependent on for our national security.
The Conservatives are hoping to learn more about Khan's arrival in Canada at the Public Safety Committee, Donna, where they've asked for an emergency meeting.
Mackenzie, thanks. There is pressure on the federal Liberals to redefine themselves in the face of polls that show they likely face a crushing defeat in the next election. They have enlisted former Bank of England and Bank of Canada Governor Mark Carney to help. At the same time, the NDP, which has broken off its deal to support the Liberals, is distancing itself from what one MP calls Trudeau's radioactive brand. Both parties are holding caucus retreats right now. David Akin is with the Liberals. David, do they think Mark Carney can turn things around?
Well, Donna, that's the question most Liberal MPs here have, but most believe that Mark Carney's new role will help with that, though details TBD.
It's an honor to accept this role.
But does Mark Carney want to take on the role of party leader?
I'm interested in doing something, not being something.
Carney deflected questions about his own political intentions, arguing he can best help Liberals win by providing good advice.
We need real policies, we need solutions, not slogans, action, not indifference.
Details will come later. For now, Carney argued for significant changes to Canada's economy.
We can no longer rely on the world's rules-based trading system. We have to become an essential trading partner.
Liberals do not see Carney's role as a prelude to a leadership change.
I'm really glad to welcome Mark here to our cabinet retreat. He is a real addition to our team. Mark is a friend of a personal friend.
In fact, Carney is the godfather to one of Freeland's children. Still, the leadership questions persisted.
Of course, after 9 years, there are some folks that are fatigued with the Prime Minister's leadership, but there's also a lot of people that are very concerned about what Pierre Poilievre might do if he was granted the keys to the country as the Prime Minister.
When I talk to Liberals, what they're most fearful of is making sure that we make sure that that leader of the opposition is never Prime Minister.
Liberals are anxious about going into a future election with an unpopular Prime Minister. But for most, changing leaders is not an option.
The Prime Minister is staying. He's running in the next federal election. We're behind him.
Now, Trudeau himself has yet to speak publicly about all of this, but the hope is he'll do so tomorrow when this caucus retreat wraps up. Donna?
David Akin in Nanaimo, BC, thanks. The federal NDP is no longer prepared to prop up the Liberal minority government and is working on repositioning itself to win over voters. Touria Izri is at the NDP caucus retreat. Touria.
Donna, with the political separation now complete, there's a sense of relief here as the NDP caucus tries to set itself apart from the Liberals.
It's always impossible until it isn't.
Jagmeet Singh is now selling himself as a solo act. Parting ways with the party and government he's propped up for 2 years. A brand the NDP caucus chair now calls tainted.
Justin Trudeau's name is very radioactive in my parts of the country.
In the New Democrats' first gathering since Singh scrapped their support for the Liberals, he portrayed himself as the only progressive ready to take on Pierre Poilievre.
I will be the leader taking us to the next election, and I am running to be the next Prime Minister of this country. We won't let them tell us it can't be done.
But before a general election, there will be by-elections. In Winnipeg, where the NDP wants to hold on to a key seat, and in a Montreal Liberal stronghold where New Democrats sense opportunity.
We are hopeful, we are cautious, of course, but we are hopeful that, I will no longer be the only NDP MP in Quebec.
But with the party sagging in the polls, the NDP could also be losing the leverage it's enjoyed to the Bloc Québécois.
We can negotiate with the government like we always do, every minority government, and try to extract progressive policies from them.
Singh is still offering no specifics about what conditions could see him no longer support the Liberals in a confidence vote. So even if he says he's willing to be the next Prime Minister, there's no indication he's willing to test that anytime soon. Donna?
Touria Izri in Montreal. Thanks, Touria. Back to that Liberal caucus meeting, the finance minister said today the government is planning to expand tariffs on Chinese imports.
Today I'm announcing a 30-day consultation on imports to Canada from China of batteries, battery parts, semiconductors, critical minerals and metals, and solar products.
Last month, it was announced tariffs on Chinese-made electric vehicles will be raised to 100%, and steel and aluminum will be hit with a 25% surtax. Those go into effect next month. China is retaliating with an anti-dumping investigation into Canadian canola imports. Air Canada is warning flight cancellations could start as early as Friday. Talks between the country's largest airline and the pilots' union have not reached an agreement. Wages are the sticking point. The carrier could suspend operations on Sunday, and up to 110,000 passengers could be affected.
Here's a 78-year-old billionaire who has not stopped whining about his problems.
Oh, she had a big crowd. Oh, the crowd.
This weird obsession with crowd sizes.
That is part of a new campaign ad for Kamala Harris. She will take to the stage tonight in a high-stakes presidential debate with her Republican rival Donald Trump. Her team specifically bought time on Fox News to air that ad, hoping Trump might see it and be annoyed by it. This is the first and likely only debate between Harris and Trump in this compressed campaign, and it is high stakes. Polls right now show the two are in a tight race, especially in battleground states. Jackson Prosco is in Philadelphia for the debate. Jackson, Harris has certainly energized the Democratic Party. What does she need to do on that debate stage tonight to win over other American voters?
Well, Donna, it's clear Americans really want to know where Kamala Harris stands on the issues. They also want to see how she performs under pressure. One poll out today suggested that up to 7 in 10 Americans actually plan on tuning in tonight, and as many as 30% say they'll decide on who they're voting for based on what they see on that stage tonight.
From the birthplace of American democracy comes a contest that could decide the very future of it.
This is kind of the last chance to fundamentally change the trajectory of a very close election.
When Kamala Harris and Donald Trump take the stage, they'll follow the same format as the now infamous CNN debate between Trump and President Joe Biden.
Look,
With no audience, mics muted when the opposing candidate is speaking, and no notes allowed. Only this time, the dynamic is so very different. Trump is now the one facing questions about his age and fitness, while Harris remains untested and in many ways unknown.
She'll be able to better prosecute the case against Trump, and we'll have a better back and forth, I think, on substance and some of the policy issues, hopefully, as opposed to the ad hominem attacks, which really turn off those undecided middle-of-the-road voters.
Harris's debate prep has reportedly included conversations with Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden, the only two people to have traded barbs with Trump before. Though she may try to bait her opponent into attacks, she also faces pressure to outline where she stands on the issues. When voters were asked if they need to learn more about the candidates, 28% said yes about Harris, just 9% said the same about Trump.
She has to show people, because they have no idea really who she is. No one follows vice presidents.
Heading into his 7th presidential debate, Trump has claimed he doesn't need to prepare. His team wants him to focus on painting Harris as too liberal, while trying to tie her to Biden's record on immigration and the economy. That's if he can stay on message.
She's not a good debater. She's not a smart person. She doesn't want to debate.
This debate may all hinge on there being one big viral moment, something that persuades voters or perhaps confirms their worst fears.
You want to talk about how unusual the dynamic is tonight, Donna. As far as we understand it, Kamala Harris and Donald Trump have never actually been in the same room together. They've never met, and now they're on this national stage tonight. And no matter what happens this evening, they will both be catapulted into a very intense final few weeks of the campaign. They'll be both hitting the trail tomorrow. Donna?
It will be one to watch. Jackson Prosco in Philadelphia, thanks. In Gaza, the latest devastating strike by the Israeli army hit civilians sheltering in a designated humanitarian zone. At least 19 people were killed, 60 others wounded. That's according to the Hamas-run health ministry. This vast crater is where tents crowded with dozens of Palestinians once stood. Israel's defense forces say it targeted 3 Hamas militants. It was Israel that established these so-called humanitarian zones, telling civilians to seek refuge there. The IDF now admits a Turkish-American activist who was killed in the occupied West Bank last week was likely to have been shot indirectly and unintentionally, they say, by Israeli forces who were aiming at someone else. The U.S. Secretary of State says her death was unprovoked and unjustified.
No one should be shot and killed for attending a protest. No one should have to put their life at risk just for freely expressing their views.
Israel has expressed regret and requested an autopsy. Palestinians paid tribute to the 26-year-old in a funeral procession yesterday. She was a recent graduate at the University of Washington and had been volunteering with a pro-Palestinian activist group. The U.S. and the U.K. are formally accusing Iran of supplying Russia with short-range ballistic missiles for its war in Ukraine and announced new sanctions. At the same time, it was Ukraine that launched a huge wave of overnight drone attacks on Russia. Witnesses captured this explosion at a high-rise southeast of Moscow. At least one woman was killed. Several other buildings were hit across 9 regions. People had to flee and dozens of flights were grounded. It is one of the biggest bombardments on Russian soil since the war began 2.5 years ago. Miami police under fire tonight. Coming up, the uproar over how an NFL player was detained. That is SpaceX launching its Polaris Dawn mission today, funded by a billionaire who is one of 4 people on board. They're planning a spacewalk and will test new spacesuits and technologies that could help in future missions to the moon. There are calls for the Miami police officers involved in a traffic stop with an NFL star to be fired. Tyreek Hill was pulled from his sports car, thrown to the ground and handcuffed. Police body cam footage released last night appears to show how quickly the situation escalated. Mike Armstrong on what happened and why that video is being closely watched.
Hey, don't knock on my window like that.
Why don't you have your seatbelt on? Don't knock on my window. Why don't you have your seatbelt on?
The interaction is tense immediately. After being pulled over for reckless driving, Tyreek Hill hands over his license, but an argument ensues.
Keep your window down. Keep your window down. I'm gonna get you.
Hill would later say he closed his window so people wouldn't film him. It instead appears to have angered the officers.
Get out of the car right now. We're not playing this game. Get out. Get out. Get out. Get out. Get out. Get out. Get out, dude. I'm getting arrested.
Hill would be thrown to the ground and handcuffed.
Where's your ID? Where's your ID?
A teammate who pulled over was also detained.
I just had surgery on my knee.
Then, after being forced to the ground a second time, Hill and police discuss whether race was playing a role.
I'm just being black in America, bro. That's all it is. We're dark too, brother. We're people of color too. Don't play like that. I'm just being a black man in America, bro, in a nice car.
Hill was eventually released and made Sunday's home opener. He also made one of the week's biggest plays.
I do want to be able to use this platform to say, like, what if I wasn't Tyreek Hill, bro?
Now, post-game, Hill questioned whether he could have been shot or put in prison were he not a superstar athlete. Hill's team, the Miami Dolphins, issued a statement saying the video shows unnecessary force and hostility and calling for swift and strong action against the officers involved.
Come over here, don't fall off the sidewalk.
One officer has been taken off the road, placed on administrative duties pending an investigation. Hill's lawyer, meantime, says they are considering legal action. Mike Armstrong, Global News, Montreal.
Responding to kids in distress. Ahead, what mothers in Nova Scotia say will help. A group of mothers in Nova Scotia believes a change in legislation could help young people who are struggling with mental health. The mothers have all lost a child to suicide, and they want new guidelines so doctors can alert parents when a child is in distress. Heidi Petracek explains.
So, yeah, the everyday things.
There's a lot Kelly Mitchell misses about her adopted daughter, who died by suicide at 14. She recalls her frustration when Aiden started struggling at 12, and mental health care providers said they couldn't share information about her daughter's care without Aiden's consent.
All of a sudden, I'm left out of the loop. So it was very hard to be able to know what we were supposed to do because there wasn't a connection. All along, all of the things that were going on in her life we no longer knew about unless she chose to share them with us. Our daughter did not need to die.
So Mitchell came to Nova Scotia's legislature alongside other parents, demanding a change to the province's Personal Health Information Act, which says healthcare providers may disclose information without consent to family if they believe it would prevent, quote, an imminent and significant danger. The group wants the word imminent removed.
They are not asking to violate a person's privacy. They're only asking to be partners in the care of a loved one who is in mental distress.
It's been done in other provinces like Manitoba after 33-year-old Reed Bricker was taken to hospital after attempting to take his own life in 2015. No one notified his family when he left a few hours later. His remains recovered next to the Red River.
It could be the person preserving their own safety in a number of cases.
Privacy lawyer David Fraser says that's why the law makes a patient's privacy paramount. But he sees a need to give healthcare providers better tools to balance confidentiality with communication.
So that people who are in distress get the help that they need, whether that's from their family or from other people.
Mental health care and decisions around it complex. The Nova Scotia mothers hope their simple change would help save lives. Heidi Petracek, Global News, Halifax.
If you or someone you know needs help, you can call or text 988. That's Canada's suicide crisis helpline. The service is available in both English and French 24 hours a day, every day. Back to basics next, why some classrooms in Finland are going low tech. Scientists have discovered something about the popular snack Doritos that's unexpected. They contain a food dye called yellow number 5. It's commonly used in other foods and drinks too. And when scientists at Stanford University applied the dye to the skin of live mice, it made the skin transparent, creating a temporary window so that their organs, muscles, and blood vessels were visible. This hasn't been tested on humans, but researchers say it may eventually lead to non-invasive medical imaging for injuries or diseases. Students across Canada are already into the new school year, many getting used to new cell phone bans in the classroom. In Finland, a country renowned for tech, one town is going a step further, shutting laptops and going back to pens and paper. Redmond Shannon reports.
Finland, famous for its forests, lakes, saunas, and this sound. Home to the mobile pioneers at Nokia, Finns were quick to embrace wireless technology in every part of life, not least in education. Notice the standard issue laptops on each desk. But those same screens are shut tight in this English class. In the town of Riihimäki, teachers have gone beyond just banning phones, turning off tablets and touchscreens to quite literally go back to the books.
Many students were using the laptops for games and things like that. It took them no time at all to change tabs in the browser or something. So when the teacher came round to them, they could say, yes, I was doing this exercise, and yeah.
It's a welcome old school approach for some who study the effects screens can have on kids.
Brain are very vulnerable with multitasking and especially when you are this young age.
Studies have also shown that traditional printing and writing can be preferable to typing, especially for retaining information.
Writing, it can be a bit tiring, but I learn easier.
Cursive writing instruction returned to Ontario classrooms last year. But with Finland's education system consistently earning high grades, perhaps more powering down could soon catch on. Redmond Shannon, Global News, London.
And that is Global National for this Tuesday. I'm Donna Friesen, closing the laptop. Tonight's Your Canada is the NCC River House in Ottawa. Thanks for watching and hope to see you here again tomorrow. Bye-bye.